All right, so we are going to now look at some of these that get a little bit harder. These are ones where you don't have common coefficients, so they don't just erase. Okay, and so you're going to multiply one or two equations by a value to make them the same. Okay, so if I look at this, my x's are 2's and my y's are 7 and 3's. So I either can take, and I could make my x's both 2's pretty easily. I probably wouldn't do this way, but you could, 3 and 7, you could make your y's both 21s. I think it would be way easier to make my x's 2 because all I would have to do is multiply this x by a -2. So I'm going to multiply everything by a -2. So that would be a -2x minus 6y equals a -12. That's where a lot of kids mess up, is they forget to multiply the 6. You got to multiply everything. Now this one was okay. So now my x's cancel, and I get a -13y equals a -13. Divide both sides by a -13, and y equals 1. So that is my second part of my answer, is 1. Okay, so I'm going to take this thing just so we can see it, and my y is 1. So I got to take at any equation, it doesn't matter, so I'm just going to use this one. I made it blue, and I'm going to turn the y into 1. So x plus 3 times 1, so you guys can see. X plus 3 times 1 equals 6. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and then I would minus 3 and minus 3, so x would equal 3. So that's my answer. So you're using elimination on this question to make the equations the same so that you can get things to eliminate. So let's take a look at number 3. Okay, let's kind of talk about this again. So if I made my x's the same, I would have to turn them both into 15s. If I made my y's the same, I could turn them both into 4s. I personally think turning them into 4s would be easier because all I would have to do is multiply this equation by 4. So that would give me 12x minus 4y equals 56. And you can use your calculator. And then the other equation stays exactly the same. Now, if you look at your y's, those cancel. So you end up with 17x equals 68. So you divide both sides by 17, and x equals 4. So that means my first number is a 4. So let's just mark this again. If x equals 4, that means I can put that in. I'm going to put it right there, and it doesn't matter which one you put it in for. So I'm going to do 3 times 4 minus y equals 14. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to subtract 12 and subtract 12, and a negative y equals 2. Divide both sides by a -1, and y equals a -2. So that is my answer. Okay, I would like you to turn the page, and let's look at number 7. Okay, number 7 is a little bit harder. So let's do our little process again. I can turn the x says no, never mind. I don't want to do 7. We want to do 8. I would like to jump to a harder one here. Okay, so on 8, I could turn my x's both into 15s, or I could turn my y's both into 12s. Personally, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to turn my y's into 12s because I can. Well, the top one has a 3, so wouldn't I have to multiply it all by 4? So that would give me 12x plus 12y equals 36. And the bottom one, I would have to multiply all by 3. So this one is a little bit different because you have to multiply both the top and the bottom. So it's 30. Now you can't do this because if I take these, they add and it's 24. So you're going to have to change the sign. So I just go through and change them. It doesn't matter on one of the equations. So now I have a -3x equals 6. Divide by a -3, divide by a -3, and x equals a -2. Okay, does it matter what equation you put the negative 2 in for? No. So it's an x. So I'm going to put it right there. I just marked by the 5. So I'm going to do 5 times a negative 2 plus 4y equals 10. So negative 10 plus 4y equals 10. So I'm going to add 10, and I get 4y equals 20. Divide by 4, and y equals 5. So my answer is a negative 2, 5. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at number 10. First off, on number 10, they don't line up. So I would have to minus the 4y over here. So I'd have 2x minus 4y equals 18. And then a negative 5x minus 6y equals 3. So I could turn my x's both into 10s, or I could turn my y's both into 12s. They both go into 12, don't they? So it doesn't really matter to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do the x's because I can. So if I change that 2 into a 10, I'm going to have to multiply everything by 5. So that's going to be 10x minus 20y equals 18 times 5 is 90. Oops, that looks like a 6, but it's a 90. My thing moved. All right, and so if I need a 10, I'm going to times the bottom all by 2. So negative 10x minus 12y equals 6. So you end up with, my x's cancel, you end up with a negative 32y equals 96. Divide both sides by a negative 32, and my answer for y is a negative 3. All right, so if my answer for y is a negative 3, I'm going to take that negative 3 and I'm going to put it back in anywhere for y. So I just marked it right there. Negative 5x minus 6 times a negative 3 equals 3. Well, negative 6 times a negative 3 is a positive 18. So I'm going to minus 18 and minus 18, and I get a negative 5x equals a negative 15. Divide by a negative 5, divide by a negative 5, and x equals 3.